So former center and NBA champion Brennan Haywood confirms what Kevin Garnett had initially stated about Victor Wembanyama and Tim Duncan not necessarily being on the same page. Wemby is coming off NBA Finals in which the Knicks kept on coming back and they were not able to close out games, especially with Victor not being able to establish himself in the post. There is an off-season pivot where he's going to have to meet with some of the masters, guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, and within his franchise themselves, David Robinson and Tim Duncan, and just refine his post game. But we're going to get into it. Let's first start off with Brennan Haywood confirming what Kevin Garnett said, and then we'll go back to that original statement made by KG. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
You sometimes, if you're not that coach, you got to have that coach. And I worked with Sam Mitchell for years. Sam Mitchell don't hold his tongue. That's why I think he'd be perfect. He'd be the guy that says, hey, Wemby, man, get your big behind in the lane, man. Yeah. And if Wemby didn't like it, he'd just be looking, because Sam's not scared to get fired. You got to have a guy that's got, like, listen, that's going to tell you the tough stuff when you might not want to hear it. Because if everybody's sitting over there just trying to protect their job, you're not going to win. You got to have somebody that's willing to be the bad guy. Do the Spurs have that? Do the Spurs have somebody that's willing to tell Wemby, you need to work with Tim Duncan? Because I'm just going to, from what I heard, Wemby wasn't always receptive to some of the stuff that Tim Duncan was trying to tell him. So, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, hey, man, like, do you have the guy that's willing to say the tough stuff to De'Aaron Fox, the tough stuff to Wemby, especially at some of the most highest leverage moments?
You know, as Wemby begins to establish himself in the NBA player hierarchy, us as NBA spectators are going to have to take a step back and just review his player archetype, because it's a strong possibility that Wemby might be a 7-foot jump shooter. It's one thing to be a big, but it's another thing to have the characteristics and play like one. And when you look back at his first NBA Finals appearance, it makes sense why the Spurs announcers during the introductions to the lineups stated that he was a forward.
And the 7'4" forward from France, #1, Victor Wembanyama.
But getting back to him not necessarily being on the same page as Tim Duncan, let's go back to Kevin Garnett's initial statement, because this truly went under the radar, and he even went as far as to saying that David Robinson, the other Spurs legend that was a big, is pretty much outdated.
Get with the young fella, Big Wemby, this summer. What was that like? What did y'all do?
We didn't do anything. We had he wanted an exchange, and it was more like some intro shit. You know what I'm saying?
Just high and by?
Yeah. No, not just high and by, but he's on a journey to seek knowledge. He wants to. He don't want to be in that box of the French player, blah blah blah. He's trying to break that whole narrative. I don't even think it's about where you from no more. It's about what type of bag you got. He's changing the way we look at the 5 position. He's changing how we're looking at the post position. Victor is bringing a different level of guard / small forward to the big man position. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it, he's mixing finesse and force at the same time, or trying to.
All he got to do is get stronger, because he got all the game. Now, if you add strength, like we saw with Giannis, once Giannis got stronger, look what he turned into.
No, man.
You know what I'm saying? That's all he. But he got the knowledge. He getting the knowledge. I mean, look at the system from the Popovich.
Pop ain't around. Pop is not around. Pop at home resting.
His presence, he gave him that though.
No, he gave him that. Pop ain't teaching like he was. Timmy came in there 4 years already, university ready. Timmy ain't in there. They don't even get along. They ain't even working. That joint don't even come together. David Robinson is outdated. Ain't no grace in there teaching him. So he got to come to the wax. Everybody, when they want, hey man, they didn't come here for the soft. You know what they came for? They came to me for the base. You hear me?
For the base.
That's what he wants. He wants mentality. How do I get stronger? How do I get better? And then when I'm out there, what am I doing? Yeah. So look, this is what I'm thinking, Victor.
Garnett is one hell of a character, but it's funny because his player archetype is kind of, I don't want to say similar to Wemby, but if you look at the way he came into the league, they listed Garnett as a small forward. And eventually we seen him dominate in the post while still adding elements of being a small forward. Again, it's interesting he mentioned David Robinson being out of date. Today's league is so different. David Robinson comes from that era where He took pay cuts to stay in San Antonio. Guys made certain sacrifices for the organization because David Robinson, he has like that military mindset. You know, it's all about the shield, and the NBA business today, it doesn't really work like that. Guys like Wemby are walking around almost like their own personal brands. So David Robinson being out of date, not used to social media, and just the understanding of the way players have to maneuver today. And it's unfortunate, but hopefully it could be corrected because there's a lot of things that Tim Duncan can help Wemby with in the post, or maybe a trip to go see Hakeem Olajuwon might be needed. But we'll see. Wemby is sort of ahead of schedule, and just going from a jump shooting big to a player who could establish himself on the post, it might be something new that us fans have never really seen before if there's some sort of 50-50 blend. That's what KG was making reference to earlier, and what Wemby's mindset and some of the information that he's trying to obtain to kind of tweak his own formula. But again, we'll see. Wemby's at that point where he's trying to find how to control these games with the pace, the overall tempo, and just sort of dictate which way it's going to go, especially in the playoffs. That's where referees kind of tuck in their whistles. The analytics doesn't work as well because players, they perform different under the pressure. When the lights are bright on the highest levels, that's where any lack of just discipline on the smallest details are going to show. But you guys definitely hit up the links in the description below. Check out my NBA True Story playlist for more segments like this. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.